Y'all ready? Let's go.
This is your wake-up call. This is your daily reminder. This is your confirmation. Turn up a little bit louder.
This is your wake-up call. This is your daily reminder.
We're coming. Hello. We're here.
Hello, everybody.
How are we doing?
Woo!
Hope everybody's doing okay. I imagine you've had a busy week. Just turn the microphone on. Had a busy week, as have we. Lots of things going on, some good, some bad. But, you know, God is in control.
Yes.
Right? All things. We've had a little bit of significant loss in the family this week. So we do a little travel. Hello, see all the hearts coming up. See Libya.
Hi.
Hello. We did a little bit of traveling this week to lay one of our loved ones to rest.
Yes.
Favorite uncle of my wife.
Yes.
Uncle Daddy.
Uncle Daddy.
Yeah. Mother's brother.
Yeah.
Only brother.
Only sibling.
Yeah, only sibling.
Not just only brother, the only sibling.
Yeah, so we spent time with that side of the family this week. Actually been there 2 weeks in a row.
Yes.
And spent some time with them. And of course, everybody is experiencing the loss of a very relatively sudden death.
Yes.
Only we're talking weeks from the time that he realized he was sick, or we realized he was sick, him as well, till now. And so that's pretty significant, pretty quick. So
yes,
we did some rapid in and out traveling, and took care of some things we needed to take care of, spent some time with the family, and we're back and moving on.
Yes.
And so everything it continues on as best we can. I also received word tonight, just about an hour ago, right in front of the mic too. So right about an hour ago, I received word that one of my longtime friends from high school years passed away suddenly, just a couple years older than myself. And so that was very shocking as well, unexpected, unanticipated. And we're not sure exactly all that happened yet, but we're going to be getting more information on that, I'm sure, over the next couple of days. So very sorry for the losses that have gone on in and around us. And hopefully everything is going well with you. We didn't come to put you down. We came to get you excited and have some conversation tonight. So hopefully you'll join in with us. Say hello if you're on, if you're tuning on, wave at us, say something so we know you're there. And, feel free to give us a call, give us a comment. If there's something you want to talk about in particular, we're here to talk with you. Hello, Heather. Hello. Glad to have you on as well tonight. And all those that are joining us through watch parties as well, or sharing, sharing watch parties is tricky now.
Yes, they've added a few more steps.
They changed everything.
They just changed everything, yes.
Facebook has a tendency from time to time of just changing how you do different things. You can still do it, but you have to do it in a very special way. If you go in where you put in a comment, a normal posting, you have to scroll down to all the extra stuff to where it says watch party, hit it there, and then you search for Destiny Preparation, and it comes up, and you click it, and you go on from there. So there is a way to do it, but it's just different now. So blame it on Facebook.
Yep, we just have to get used to doing it.
Got to roll with the punches, right?
Something doing a different way.
Yep, you got to roll with the punches.
That's right.
Whatever comes our way, we're going to go with it. So good evening, Amelin. Good evening. Glad to see you on as well. And so obviously we're watching to see who's catching up with us. And anytime, if you're here, just jump in, have a comment, whatever the case may be. Love to hear from you tonight. So there are, as always, several things to talk about. It seems like every week there's always all kind of things happening that we can get into. And tonight really is no exception. Lots of things that continue to go on around us. Lots of discussion happening right now about our governor.
Yes.
I guess the state, we're getting it throughout the state because we have governor issues happening. We have Rochester issues happening. And so, a lot of conversation about what's what and what's going on with that. And that leads into a whole other gambit of things surrounding who you're going to believe at this point.
Yes, really.
For a few different situations and interpretations and misinterpretations, blah, blah, blah. So lots to talk about on that. On civil rights front, George Floyd's family reached a settlement this week, $27 million settlement with the city of Minneapolis.
Yes.
And there's a lot to talk about there. Is that enough? I mean, how do you quantify what we experienced with money?
Exactly.
Right?
The loss of a life.
Yeah, somebody's life lost, a family member, all
How do you
the relationships.
compensate? You know, you can't compensate for that.
And just everything that goes along with it. So there's a whole host of different things that are happening in and around that area to discuss as well. So lots of things to jump into. So I think the first thing maybe we'll talk about is coronavirus. Because we all just know and love it so much.
Oh my goodness.
Coronavirus continues on with us, but the rates are actually going down quite a bit.
Yes.
And so there has been a lot of conversation surrounding, the rollbacks that are taking place, and whether, is it too much? Is it too soon? Are we ready for it? There are a lot of people now that are taking the vaccine. According to stats, almost a little over 20%. Of the population now has taken at least the first shot of the vaccine, and 10% have taken both. So we're making some progress. We heard this week, I believe, that President Biden now says everybody who wants to take a shot it will be available to them by May 1st. So that's like 6 weeks away.
Yes.
Meanwhile, other people are already becoming eligible. I've seen a lot of people now who are getting the shot and posting things. And it's not just senior citizens anymore. It's not just high risk. It's really opening up.
Yes.
So I've seen a lot of people in a lot of different areas that are now taking the shot. So if you've taken it and you have an experience there, I'd love to hear from you on that. I have not heard from the people that we know anything negative tonight. Oh, Libby says the restaurants were full tonight.
Oh,
yeah. So they are opening and expanding seating capacities as well. So some of them have been open for a while, but now they're bringing in more chairs, things like that. And to be honest, churches are now have the same permissions or similar permissions to expand the number of people and the capacity in churches. And so we see a transition happening, and it's really interesting that it ties to kind of the breaking of spring, right? And that's good and bad, but we see the weather change that's been going on. We made it through our worst cold a few weeks ago. We had a 70-degree day this week, just to give us hope.
Yes, really.
That it's coming. Of course, we dropped back down in the 30s for a little while. But there is certainly indications, that the weather is changing.
Yes.
Heard a woodpecker out now for the past couple of weeks. On Sundays in particular mornings. So things are changing. I saw first pair of geese. I didn't see a flock, just a pair. Yeah. Yes. So this is time they do pair up. But I saw a pair of geese earlier this week flying around 490 and 390. I saw the same pair just flying different areas within a couple hours of the time. So things are changing. The season's changing.
Yes. Time.
And time
is getting ready to change.
Changes, by the way.
Yes.
We should mention that for those of you that are keeping up.
That's
you
right.
Change the clocks tonight,
That's right.
So all these things are indications that there are changes that are happening in overall the environment. And so on top of that, we are seeing these rollbacks happening on the coronavirus. By the way, Libby says she got the vaccine today. All right. So she's on her way.
Right.
Several other people we know have also started getting the vaccinations. Said she's feeling well. Praise God. That's good. Overall, I think as you look at the big picture, originally there were a few things out there, somebody having kind of side effects and allergies and things like that. But it's been really relatively minor.
It's been very mild. I've heard some people say that, they had been extremely tired and needed to rest.
Right.
But I haven't heard of anyone getting sick. I mean, dramatically ill, which is a very good thing. We're not hearing that.
Yeah. And if you're talking 20% of the population, then you have a huge sampling out there now.
Right.
So if there was anything immediate to be concerned about, and here's the issue, if there's anything immediate, I think we know it by now.
Yeah.
But everything isn't just immediate. So we
have to think about what may happen later.
Right. There are things that can happen in the short term
and then long term.
And we don't know all the answers to that. What we do know is that vaccines have been used for decades amongst our people. What the true depth of that is, we fully can't understand, but we know that this is something that has been in our society now for decades. Talking about polio, you're talking about measles, you're talking
mumps,
about
rubella,
all kind of things, right?
Yes.
You know, so this is not new, us having and taking vaccines. The only thing new about this is a little bit of the science behind how it was developed and how quickly it was developed and pressed out into the public. That's a good thing that we're able to do that. And
right. Well, we're living in a different time right now where we can get things done rapidly.
Yeah.
And, you know, before it would take a lot of time.
Hey, Renee, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, she got a little heart there for us.
Oh, nice? So, talk to you soon, Renee.
So, you know, it's, you know, there's a lot of, it's progress. We could get into the spiritual elements tonight. I don't do that. I'll say that for a Wednesday or something like that, because it may head someplace. But you know, in the short term and the short term decision, what's best, what's safest, it does make a lot of sense.
Yes.
To get the vaccine, and in doing so, not only protect yourself but help protect the others as well.
Yes.
And so it's moving out. It's coming out quick. People are jumping on board. I think people are getting themselves settled in their mind to do it. That's a good thing. Now, but the thing is, we've got 20% of the population thus far that have taken the first shot, 10% taken both.
Right.
And there's a lot of rollbacks that are starting to show up, and some are pretty dramatic. Right? Like Texas came back first probably a week or so ago and said, okay, we're just going to take all the mask regulations away.
Yes.
And, you know, all the restaurants can open full capacity.
Nah.
You make the decision.
Right.
And that happened at the state level, and even some of the cities, especially where they've had these major cases, they're like, you know, really? I mean, now you put all the blame us. Stores, you know, especially some of these big stores and small ones, saying, now you put all the ownership on all us. The weight on us.
Yes.
Because we're trying to enforce it and we don't have your back anymore. Right. So now people come in the stores and I don't want to wear it. Right. And so they got to fight, you know, these people to try and keep their employees safe.
That's right.
Right. Not to mention their customers safe.
That's right.
And the last thing that any business person wants right now to see is a resurgence. Thank you. Resurgence, going backwards and having to shut down again.
Yes.
Because that's their money. That's their business. They don't want to see things go backwards. And so, you know, there's a lot of issue going on here. And the question is it too much too soon? So, you know,
and here's another issue. We don't know.
Nobody knows.
We don't know. I think a lot of this is trial and error.
Right. We don't know for sure. I mean, but the question now is, if we know we've gotten the vaccine out to a certain percent, 20% vaccinated enough?
Right.
If we assume there's another, you know, let's say, I can't remember the exact numbers. Let's say there's maybe another 5 to 10% of the population that has actually had the vaccine or had the virus. So now you're up to maybe 20, 30%, right? Is that enough to not be concerned about people coming together and gathering that they'll spread it? Because we know it spreads. We know there's new variants that spread even worse.
Right.
But now we're seeing things like in Florida, because we're heading into spring break, and they have literally thousands of people.
Here we go again, Florida.
Headed to the beaches,
right?
Other parts of the country, they have different things, events going on now with hundreds and thousands of people gathering, no masks, et cetera, so forth. Is it too much too soon to be going into these rollbacks? That's the question. So kind of here's where we are right now, looking at the United States overall. You can definitely see that we've made a great improvement. This is we were just at Christmas time, right? This huge time from the fall, September, we started picking up right around Halloween time. And when they sent the college kids home from college, and it saturated through the communities, and then all through the holidays, holiday travel, boom, boom, boom. About 3 weeks later, you know, you see this continuing up. And then after the holidays, you see it start coming down steeply. It's cold, it's winter, people are inside, you know, and there's not as much nearly as reason to travel.
Right.
So it's gone down pretty dramatically over time.
Very dramatically.
That's a very positive thing. It does indicate, okay, we can start coming down on some things, but are we doing too much too soon? Yeah. You know, this is where, you know, different states look like right now. You can see the difference between the state. This is New York in red, where we are now. Most recently, Florida up a little bit. Texas. Now, this is, they just started making these rollbacks within the past week or so. The question is 3 weeks from now. In the next 3 weeks, what are these numbers going to look like? Are they going to stay down or are they going to start turning around? That is the real question. In our local area, this is one of the charts that I like to look at, by the way, just for our business purposes, etc. This shows, we can break it all the way down to our local area. So for those of you who are here in Rochester, the Monroe County area, we had a 0.8% positivity yesterday. That's a really, really good number. We haven't seen that since the summer, right? Oh, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
It's coming back. All right. So I didn't do it, y'all. It did it itself. But, so the numbers are very low. Keeping them low would be good. And keeping them low until people have the full opportunity to be vaccinated would be even great. So do we take things away now? Do we take away these restrictions now? Is it too much, too soon? That is the real question that's out there for debate. And even here in New York State, they're starting to reduce some of the restrictions, as we described, restaurants. And I guess I could see gradually, but, to just drop things like they are in some aspects of the country and say, okay, do what you want to do again. Doesn't it seem like it's like asking for trouble?
It's risky.
Yeah.
It's very risky.
So what do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys think?
It could even be reckless.
Right. It could even be reckless. Absolutely. That's absolutely true.
Yes.
So, what's your opinion on this? Do you think it's too soon? Do you think we're ready to have these kind of rollbacks? What is your feeling about it? Are you ready? How safe are you feeling? I know we all want to get out.
Yeah, we do.
Right. We all want to go back to normal. Even in church, we want churches to go back to normal. We want people to come to church. Listen, Easter is coming.
Right.
And by the way, this week in particular is significant because this week represents 1 year of our shutdowns.
Exactly.
And quarantines for coronavirus this week. It was this time last week here in Rochester that we had our first local case in Greece, which kind of set everything off. Everything shut down after that. It was in the school district and things started shutting down rapidly. It was this time last year that we stopped our services this coming Sunday. A year ago, we stopped having open services and we went to online services and learned that pain really quick.
That was a lot of preparation, a lot of time. It was painful, but we got through it.
Painful learning, right?
Thank you.
So, thank God. We did a lot of things very rapidly to keep ministry going out.
Yes.
And we were having services with basically 8 people in the church, about 3 people on mic, maybe 4. And then, people in the sound running the cameras and the sound and, let's send our musicians home. A lot of everything's went through this, but, this was the shutdown week a year ago. And so we've come a long way in a year.
Yes.
Now we've had and this is something to remember, over 500,000 people in this country died within the past year. So that's no joke. That's a very serious thing. In fact, I believe it was during this week a year ago, we had the first death in the United States because of COVID. And so, this thing has really put us all through a lot. You see the transition in the weather. You see the transition in seasons. We all want to get out. We have to still be careful, though.
Exactly. Well, we had to travel. This was the first time traveling in a year.
Because we traveled just before this week.
Exactly.
Last year.
We traveled in February. We went to Mexico. That was the last time we were on an airplane until last week. Or just last week when my uncle passed away in Delaware.
Right.
It was different.
Definitely different.
It was definitely different. We wore masks in the airport. Oh, not to even talk about what we went through before we actually flew.
Right.
We went to get our test. Yes, we had to go and get the test, our COVID testing, and we were all negative. However, when we got to the airport to take our flight, no one asked.
No one even asked, right?
No one even asked. We had our papers.
Yeah.
No one asked whether or not we had taken the COVID test.
Either here or where we were landing.
Exactly.
Right.
But we took it because it was the right thing to do.
Yep. And then we had to be masked up the whole time.
The whole time. In the airport, on the plane, in the house for the 2 or 3 days.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
That's an important thing because here we are with family, right?
Right.
And everybody's
That's our first real gathering.
Everybody's, friendly with each other. They want to see each other, hug each other.
Haven't seen each other.
And you have to wear masks the whole time around each other.
Yes.
And it's wearing because we found that as time goes on, people start, wearing those masks less. And we're still masked up. Right? y'all doing all right? Good. And they slowly slipping those masks away because just the dynamic of family makes you start being comfortable.
It does, and especially since we have all been on quarantine, so we were not able to see our family members. So to see them and see everyone, we were quite. It was a sad occasion, but it felt good to see each other. So you let your guards down, and I believe that is why the quarantine. That is why coronavirus keeps increasing.
Right, it is. That's why it's so
around
dangerous.
Holidays, people want to get together, and it has been an issue because this is not normal. We are social creatures.
Exactly.
We need to touch. We need to be around one another.
Yeah.
And I was getting a headache.
Well,
I wore the mask so much, I really got a headache. I had to go outside and relieve myself of the mask. I know it doesn't sound right, does it? Relieve myself wearing the mask so that I could breathe in and exhale some fresh air.
Well, the one thing I learned is that you cannot run through an airport with bags and a mask on. You can't do it, right? It's like the worst kind of training because you can walk and breathe okay through that mask. Right. But when your heart rate gets up and you're trying to move and breathe in and out, you're not getting enough. You don't get enough oxygen.
Yeah, you can pass out.
You can't run. I was like, okay. In the last trip back, I dropped them off. I'm trying to make sure
we got settled
and everything back and get back to the airport. And I was like, okay, there goes the shuttle. I'm like, nope. I'll be catching the next one. I watched it go away. It's like I should have ran. I was like, man, I can't run. You try and step quick, and it's like, with those masks on, it does have an effect on you. So it's been a lot.
Yes,
right?
It has.
And so I know there's that drive and desire to move past this, but we can try and ignore it, but it's not going away.
Right.
And so we'll fall right into our own personal danger zone again if we're not careful. So we'll be watching this for the next few weeks. And it's typically 3 weeks. We'll see if the numbers continue to go, if they stay down or if they come back up again, and how far. I'm expecting they're going to come up again. The question is how far they're going to come up.
Yes.
And so also we're taking the kids back to school in April.
Yes. In April. Yes. Everyone. We will have a full house. For the people that are deciding to send their kids back. But I believe at this point, they're having so much problems. They're hearing so much from a lot of pressure. And people want the children back in school. It is not normal to be in a school building and not have children or to just have a handful of children. It's not normal. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And our children need the best of us to educate them.
It's been a year for them.
It's been a year.
So they lost, the last quarter of last year.
Yes.
And now we're into almost 3/4 of this year, a full school year.
Exactly.
And the pressures that are out there, it's not just for the kids. There's political pressure. There's financial pressure.
Yes.
There's pressure in terms of people trying to handle things at home. There's all kind of pressures that are saying, okay, go ahead and send the kids back. Again, your thoughts, good thing,
parents
bad thing,
need to
right,
go.
wrong.
Yes. Parents need to work.
So kids can't be online because they're babysitting the younger
children.
It's all kind of stuff going on. Kids that are online but sleep.
It happens. It's very true.
Things that are happening.
Yes.
But so they're going back April 1st. Governor Cuomo just announced this week, I think just yesterday, that the quarantines for people coming into the state are going to stop as of April 1st as well. You won't be required to quarantine. So things are changing, and they're changing fairly rapidly. Easter is coming up. We started talking about that. Easter is like 3 weeks away. And so, last year for Easter, the doors were closed.
Yes, they were.
All of them were closed.
They were all closed.
Because remember, Trump wanted to have the churches open by Easter.
Yeah, he did.
And it didn't happen. Virtually every church was closed last Easter. This year, we're looking to have open doors for Easter. If we're going to do that, and if anybody's going to do that, I think you can't just, again, ignore that this thing is not here.
No, we will be wearing masks.
Be wearing masks.
We will be wearing
doing
masks.
Sanitizing between all our services.
We will continue.
You know, we have mics separated out for people. We have cleaning on the mics every week. There's a lot of things that we do and will continue to do for an extended period of time. So we're making very careful decisions and cautious decisions right now about what we can do and what we can't do. And I honestly do hope that people will go back to church for Easter this year. I think that, and from a spiritual perspective, people have been out of church too long.
Yes.
And even those that have been online, and we've had a good online following and people that have been there very consistently. Right. We need that connection. We need that spiritual connection. Yes. We're trying to be very conscious. And I think I speak for many pastors, certainly ones I know, trying to be very conscious about what we do and don't do, allow and what we don't allow. We need to have communion. And we're working through that right now because we're not, you know, back when I was a kid, they used to have one cup. Right? And they fill that cup up.
Not anymore.
Take a drink and they take a little thing and just wipe it. And they pass it on next one. Turn a quarter, you know, degrees, and here you go, 90 degrees. And like that was going to do it, right? Okay, here you go. And you get 100 people with that same cup and that same towel. And that don't fly no more.
It does not.
we don't do the cup like that no more.
No.
If y'all do, if you know anybody still doing the cup, you can let me know. I'm really curious.
We're reporting them.
So, you know, we're having things separate out, but we need these things though. Yes. We haven't had communion for a year. And that, you know, is not just a sacrament of the church. It's a true symbolism of our covenant with God. Yes. And so there are things that we do need to do. And I do want to encourage people. I think it's time to come back to church physically, but we have to be very careful, conscious, and we have to be, you know, aware of the fact of our responsibilities towards people. So all these things are going on. There's a lot of transition in terms of what's happening with the virus. And we just want to encourage people to continue to be careful because it's not over.
It's not over.
Hopefully, by later in the year, we'll be in a much better position. But as for now, and we'll still be probably being conservative about a lot of stuff. I mean, the rest of this year.
Yes. You know, I was already somewhat of a germaphobe.
A lot of people were.
So it's just become heightened.
Right.
Yes.
So, you know, things like this, you know, travel will be coming back, you know, things will be happening again. Businesses will be continue to churn and open up. That's a really good thing. The economy will again rise. People will get jobs back, but we have to be careful. We don't want to relapse. We don't want to go in the wrong direction. So, you know, lots to keep in mind there. Now, we spoke about Cuomo, Governor Cuomo earlier.
Yes.
And one of the questions that's up right now. So a seventh person now has come forward to complain about Governor Cuomo in terms of sexual harassment. 7 people. Now, it's really interesting to me because these stories now, they're all over the place. I mean, let's just be frank about it for a minute. Nobody has said that he has truly sexually assaulted anyone.
Right.
So a couple of people said, well, he groped me, he touched me this way, he touched me, you know, and now a lot of what's coming out is more about him being a bully is probably the best way to put it, than it is about sexual harassment. And to be totally honest, there's been a reputation for a while that Cuomo behind the scenes was very tough on people.
Very tough and very aggressive. Well, you know what? You can see his personality, you know, just he gets it done.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of personality.
That's the personality.
We've seen him through this past year kind of turn that on because
he's had to.
You know, he's been like, look, he's in charge. He's doing it his way. He'll take the fall for it. He pulled back. Remember at the beginning of this thing, he pulled back control from the local governments.
Yes, he did.
Because when this first broke out, I remember here in
New
Greece,
York City was a mess.
Yeah, and here in Greece, you know, the Greece town for the mayor and the county exec were starting to jump up, and they were going to do this, and they were going to make that law. And Cuomo called them all into a back room and said, "Guess what? This is the way it's going to be. I'm going to make the calls."
Right.
And so he's been known for being brash, for being tough. And he also comes from this kind of old school politics, you know, kissing babies and shaking hands and behind the scenes kind of business that goes on.
Yes.
So he has this brashness around him. But the issue right now is it's becoming really highlighted as, you know, it's like people are throwing rocks while you're down.
Yes.
Right. And another thing. Oh, and he also, you know,
and another.
It's not even just about sexual harassment, not to belittle or make light of that. And I'm not even suggesting or implying that things did or did not happen, because we're not in the place to do that. But I do think there needs to be an opportunity. And here's the question is, you know, does there need to be opportunity for this to be heard out? Because right now, just by the preponderance of people that are coming forth, they're pushing for him to resign. Right?
That's politics.
Well, yeah.
Well, you know,
so yes, it is.
But you know what? I feel it's just odd to me that all of this will come about now during a time. Well, Trump is no longer president. He and Cuomo did not see eye to eye on anything on any level. Cuomo never backed down from Trump.
Right.
And now we have Cuomo with all of these issues. It just seems ironic. I don't even see Cuomo as being that naive of a man. I think he's to do some of the things that they are alleging that he has done. I think he's a much smarter man than that.
A lot of the things.
And then another thing. Here I go. And another thing. Okay. Trump remained in office, and he actually said, caught on tape saying, well, he grabs them, you know, by the private part. I wasn't going to say it. Grabs them by the private.
Trying to find my beat button.
Yeah.
We don't have a bleep button.
And nothing happened.
Well, yeah. I mean, the question is there a double standard? Number one.
There you go.
Right? You know, but understand what's happening right now with Cuomo. The biggest people that are pushing it are the Democrats and the people that are supposed to be on his side.
Well, they want the position.
Well, yes and no. I mean, so you've got like the two state senators, the New York state senators, Schumer and oh gosh, her name just escaped me. But you know, there is certainly a positioning thing here. Yeah. Because people don't want to get caught in the middle of this double standard thing, because people that were saying, oh, we got to do this to Trump. We got to deal with Trump. We got to impeach Trump, get him out of there. Don't want to get caught now in this position where they're not saying things consistently about Cuomo. You know, there are very different stories and scales of stories associated with Trump and Cuomo, right? At this point, for the most part, what has been talked about with Cuomo have been things that would be perhaps inappropriate. There's some things that they suggest he said which would be really stupid for him to say, right? Inappropriate for him to say, in fact. You know, as a leader, talking to somebody who's an insubordinate of his, to have some of the conversations that it suggested he had, dumb, right? We learn in Leadership 101, you don't do that kind of stuff. Right. On the other side of it, okay, just dumb-dummy for a minute. Dum-Dum is single, and Dum-Dum is looking to date somebody. So, you know, Dum-Dum may start talking to certain people that are attractive in his office, in his area, about stuff that he probably should not cross those lines. He's been accused of things like, you know, going in to take a picture of somebody and putting his hand on their lower back.
Just on their back.
On their lower back.
Oh, the lower back.
You know, I mean, not that he put his hand on their, you know, posterior or anything like that, but a lot of these things are very edgy in terms of interpretation of what really happened and how people felt about it. Right. But you know, these stories have piled out, and people, you know, I don't want to get into the deep. Here's the issue. I mean, we're living in a time that is so delicate and sensitive.
Exactly.
Look at this. We're online right now, right?
Yeah.
And we're saying what we think about some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
These things are all being stored in public access,
right,
for years to come.
Exactly.
And so years from now, somebody could come back, pull up one of these tapes that we've done, or one of these videos we've done, take one little thing that we said out of context and said, aha. Right?
Right.
And so when you look backwards on someone's life over the years, these days, the issue is not only is it, you have to not do these extreme things, you have to be a almost perfect person.
Yeah, and there's no perfect person.
Right. And
there's no, it seems like a person, once somebody makes an allegation against you, you are then in the position where you have to defend that allegation. Rather, you have to prove that it is not true.
Well, it's almost assumed that it's true.
And who wants to go through those changes?
Yeah.
We have to be so very, very careful because it's very tricky.
Yeah. So on the one hand, maybe the roosts come back, to crow, because you made some enemies along the way. You've pushed some people along the way. You have done some things that perhaps you shouldn't have done along the way.
Somebody doesn't like you
now
for whatever
it all
reason.
Comes back, right?
Yes.
And they go out. People will go out and find people like this and get them.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that these things should not be considered significant or serious, because there are some in there that are really wrong if they're true. There are some things in there that are inappropriate. There's only one that I've heard that really suggests that he physically touched someone in a manner that was blatantly inappropriate. Most of them are on this edgy kind of, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't talk like that, shouldn't behave like that, governor, kind of thing. But this is all being poured on. But it goes back again to, this aspect of who really can carry a perfect standard. And I want to even get into Chris Harrison. So for people who watch The Bachelor, which may be nobody here, or Bachelorette, Chris Harrison has been the host of that for years now, I think a decade or so. And he got in this issue because they've been going through now this racism thing of blacks and whites, and trying to get more representation in The Bachelor show, which has been predominantly white now for 20 whatever seasons. And so they decide, okay, we're going to have a black guy, and here we go, we got a black guy, right? And this whole thing comes up with one of the girls that's in it, one of the bachelorettes that's in it, and somebody digs back 4 or 5 years ago into all of her posted pictures, and again, public stuff out here, right? You go back and you find something, and they were at an antebellum party. Right?
Oh,
she happened to be at an antebellum party, and they found another one where she was standing in front of a Southern Confederate flag. Whether those things she was making a statement about those things or not has not even been discussed. Whether she was saying I support the flag has not even been discussed. But the fact that they found a picture 4 years ago of her standing in front of the flag, right, and going to an antebellum party, right, which I'm not saying is right. Again, I'm not saying that she should do that, but this thing becomes a huge thing. And so now you get this discussion between Chris Harrison and one of the former bachelorettes, the one that happened to be black, right? And they're going back and forth. And Chris expresses some things in there which, in my opinion, just again being open-minded, I think were taken out of context. Right? They were asked the question. He was asked the question by this woman about whether this was right for her to have been doing these things, and he makes a statement that says something like, well, is it a wrong thing for them to do in 2021, or was it a wrong thing for them to do in 2018? And they jumped on that immediately, saying, and Rachel, rightly, the girl who's talked to, said it's wrong at any time, right? Which is absolutely right. Whether it was then or now, it does. It's not wrong. It's not just wrong now. It was wrong. It's wrong then. But I think the point he was trying to make, right, was that society and what society's acceptance of certain things has changed over the years.
It has. And
so there was a time when certain things were more acceptable in certain circles. People have learned and like now, I'm pretty sure, and I think she said it, the girl that was in that picture would not have done now
what she did then,
and probably didn't even realize the significance of what she was doing. In fact, the group, there was a singing group called Lady Antebellum.
Yes.
And they took on the name Sounds Pretty. They had no
Not
idea
knowing the meaning,
what it meant.
Exactly.
When they learned what it meant, guess what? They changed their name.
Exactly.
So to one extent, you have to give people, I think, some opportunity to grow, right? To another extent, I think he was misinterpreted, because I think what he was trying to say, not is that it's wrong now, but it wasn't wrong then, which is the way it got drawn up. I think what he was trying to say was, listen, this was something happened at a time when this person didn't realize what they were in. Right, or what they're around in, and nobody. I haven't heard anybody really go on a check and ask her and talk to her yet to say, okay, did you realize what an antebellum party was? Why were you there with your friends doing this? Why were you saying from it's just condemnation, which again I understand. Got to be careful because all it's public, But I think there's a misinterpretation there of what he was trying to say, which now has cost him his career, because they just announced that he won't be on next year or next season with The Bachelorette. Wow. So. The aspect of being perfect, and what I mean with him and imperfection is, I don't think he said it right. I don't think that's what he meant, but I think what he said was not said well, and it was misinterpreted. And there are people that say, above and beyond what he said there, that there are other things that he has assumed and presumed, and with the show that's why they feel that, okay, that's just the tip of an iceberg, and maybe that is, but I think we have to be very conscious and careful about all these things and what we call making people perfect. We got the situation going on with the mayor right now here in Rochester, right? And this has blown up, to her, this whole thing with Daniel Prude. They came out this week, and an investigation confirmed that information was withheld. So Daniel Prude, everybody in Rochester knows this story happened in February.
Right.
People didn't hear about it till like May, June time frame, and then everybody was up in arms about what had happened, and they were like, "Why are we just hearing about this?" And the city councils, "Why are we just hearing about it?" And so you get the mayor and you get the chief of police going back and forth. He said, she said. Right. You told me to do this. I told me not to do that. Exactly. She said, and they just, and then finally, she fires him, blah, blah, blah. I think this was probably pretty badly handled. Right. What was the intent behind it? Was the intent to, keep people out of this? Was the intent to save face? Was the intent to, what was it really behind it? Is hard to say, but this is definitely a story that, it's certainly making her look bad. And as a result of that, people now are really questioning whether she should be the mayor going forward. And to be honest, to be very frank about it, I really have a lot of respect for Mayor Warren.
Yes.
Talked to her several times. I believe she's very sincere.
Right.
As I've watched her career over these past, I think it's been 8 years that she's been in office now, 7, 8 years. She's made some mistakes. She made one very early on when she hired in a family member and security guard as a security person. And there were all kinds of details and stuff like that got out in the public, and that went really bad. She had to conquer that. And then she there's been a few other things. The point is, people do make mistakes.
Exactly.
Right?
No one is perfect.
But we're in an environment now where you can't even own up to the fact that it was a mistake, because if you do,
right,
you're gone.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like you're prosecuting yourself.
Yeah. So everybody then has to try and cover up. You can't acknowledge, you'd like to be in an environment where, okay, if Governor Cuomo did mishandle somebody, if he was too touchy or if he was too tough on them, you want to be in an environment and say, yeah, okay, I get it. I shouldn't have done like that. But now you have to posture, right? Everything's got to go through the politics and the legalities of it. And the reason they want him out now, the majority of the state's Senate on the Democrat side, is because it's the politics. It makes them look too bad.
That's what I said. Yes.
They're not waiting to find out whether you did or didn't do. They're like, look, at this point, you're making us as a party look bad, and we can't continue to support you on this. You've lost confidence. You got to go. Right. You have a man here who number one, his career. Number two, has spent the last year doing everything he can to save this state.
Yes.
Taking the pressure.
And he's done a good job.
And some people say, yeah, he just wanted to be in the limelight. He's trying to be. Look, this man has gone through a lot this year.
Yes, he has.
State.
Yes, he has.
And to just say, okay, all this has come up now and we're just going to dump you off and drop you and your career is done is a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And that's why I question, why is this happening to him at this time?
Right. I mean, I would think you'd want to see this out a little bit. Let's understand what's really happening here. Again, these are not accusations that this man sexually, assaulted somebody, pulled them in, grabbed them, made them do something. This is not rape.
It's not that. Right.
This is maybe some inappropriate behavior, right? And
well, with somebody, yeah.
It may be. It may just straight up be. It may realistically, it may be inappropriate. You really shouldn't have done that, right? You should not do this. And can we allow somebody to learn from their mistakes and move forward?
Right. Why would you want to, if somebody does something, let's address that. But to try and condemn a person, take him out of office, affect someone's livlivelihood. It's just,
and the reputation,
and the legacy, the whole thing. It's a bit much, in my opinion, but that's just the person that I am.
It's a lot.
Especially being that he hasn't done the things that you said. He hasn't actually sexually abused anyone. He hasn't forced anyone to do anything like that. It's just a bit maybe inappropriate. And also, it could just be that these people want to make these allegations or are coerced to make these allegations against him because somebody has it out for him. I mean, I'm not saying that is the case, but it is a possibility.
I think there just has to be some gradient somewhere. There's
Where
a
do you draw the
huge
line?
difference between some of the guys that at the beginning of this Me Too movement, I can't remember names now, but there were just these really nasty, crazy guys, we know several of them that were blatant and obvious, all the way down to somebody who was, you need to get your act together. You need to not, we need to take you back to sexual harassment training or leadership 101 or something like that. And in some cases, you know better. You need to know better. You should know better. Right. And you need to do better.
Right. I just don't see him as being that, I think he's smarter than that.
Well, let me ask you, and I want to ask you guys this question. If he were to come back, and somebody's saying they don't want him to run for president,
that is very true, Heather. I agree with that 100%.
But if he were to come back at some point in this and say, you know what, I realize my behavior has offended a lot of people. I have behaved in ways that, I should have known better. And I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better for everybody in terms of this, how I treat people, how I've learned from them, so I'm moving forward. Would you accept that at this point? Or is it just too late? We just don't accept people's learning from their mistakes?
Yeah, really. I agree. That is a question.
So here's interesting. Go back to Bachelor for a minute, because the young lady that was the one that was identified with all this, the flag and antebellum and all that stuff.
Yes.
She's still in it. They're down to 2.
And she's still there.
And she's one of 2. And so this week, by the way, this even though it's just crazy disastrous thing, this is great for Bachelor for ratings.
Yes, it is.
People are going to be watching now because they want to know.
They want to know.
So they're down to 2 and she's one of the 2. And so the question Monday is, who's he going to pick? Is he going to pick the girl who was, that was at these parties, or is he going to pick the other girl? What happens if he picks the girl who was at these parties?
And Lady Antebellum?
Yeah. What's that going to look like, right? Because then the following week they're going to do a live show with the winners, and they'll be on, Good Morning America, do the whole tour, or they may not. They may just hide. But usually the winners, a happy couple, they'll go on together. We'll hear about all the things going on. So what's going to happen if he picked her?
We will see.
Because all that didn't come out until after the show was already taped. So that's going to be interesting. I will be
And you know what? I never
watching.
liked The Bachelor. Was not a fan, and I'm still not a fan, but I'm curious now.
A lot of drama.
I just think it's ridiculous that all of these women are going after this one guy.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
So many different ways.
But now I'm interested. I want to know what the outcome is going to be. Not that I'm a fan of The Bachelor, because I'm not.
Right. There are a lot of ridiculous things on right now. And the concept that over a matter of weeks, somebody's going to start with 30 people. First of all, we don't even want to get into this. Do we want to get into this?
Yeah, I actually think
kissing on each other.
I actually think it's degrading to women.
It goes both ways. They do the same thing. The next time it'll be a woman with 30 guys.
With 30 guys.
And it's like, so now the woman is going to be sleeping around. It's happened already, y'all. So
with all these guys.
They sleep around with the last 3 or 4 guys, right?
Right. And to determine which one they like.
Right. This just shows where society is at right now.
Exactly.
Right? I sleep around to decide if we're compatible.
They're making so many things so much acceptable that.
So we are not supporting and endorsing the show.
No, we're not.
But Monday.
Isn't that something? See how you get drawn? This is how you get drawn in. Am I correct?
Yes,
it is.
I'm telling you, this is great advertisement for them.
Yes.
Whether they admit it or not, somebody in PR is sitting back smiling.
Exactly.
Right
and to
marketing.
Talk about the antebellum now.
We couldn't have paid
at the height of racism being exposed.
We couldn't have paid for this kind of advertising. So they're pumped up.
Yes. Well, racism's already been there. It's always been there, but
oh God,
it's definitely in our faces now.
So
no pun intended.
Let's get back to comments. So we're back to. I think we're back in comments to if somebody apologizes, if the governor, if Trump were to apologize. Well, okay, comments. If anyone crossed my boundaries, I would call them out on the spot with a warning of reporting it. So again, most of these things were subtle enough that people didn't even mention at the time. There were some now, understand, there's some cases where somebody said that they did report. Some of the early initial ones said they did report. Governor's making me uncomfortable. They ended up in a different role, different position. Now you get into the question of were they pushed out because of this situation, or did they actually get another position they chose to go into? But there were a couple that did report that there are some people, and there are always many people that don't report it. They're not comfortable with that. So everybody you can expect is not going to do that. But I think when you see stuff like this, there's a systemic behavior that's going on.
Oh yeah.
The question is how innate, how deep is it? And how much do we give a person opportunity to change that behavior, or are they just not listening to the things that are happening to them? So we really need to see more. And somebody else on the question, why not? They did didn't have a problem with Trump and what he said to women or about women. He was certainly, again, like I said, there's a gradient here because you can't even compare apples to apples with Trump and Cuomo. With the things that they're being accused of, they're not on the same level. And some of the other ones, man, I can't remember names. I'm seeing all these faces from all these guys that have been thrown in jail. One guy killed himself, committed suicide before he went to court. What's his name that's in jail? I can't remember all these names. But these guys, they're out there, right? There's another guy now from Canada that was in the fashion industry, and they were like, they were prostituting these girls in the industry. Well, it's just they are. I mean, so these guys, this is a whole nother extreme.
Well, it's another extreme, but that's not even surprising. It's not surprising to me, because those things happen in that industry. So now they're going to talk about it.
Libby is saying women must speak up immediately, not 10 plus years later. There's a truth to that. There's also a truth to, the reality that some people are afraid for their jobs.
Well, you know what? Where do you draw the line for men? In this issue, it's really difficult for a man when you have to work in an office, and you have to be around females. Or no, I don't like the word female. You have to be around women. It's almost like you need to have someone else there to protect you from having someone making some foolish allegation because things have not gone their way or because they want things to go their way. You have to be very careful as a man right now, not to even look at a woman. he looked at my breasts. You know, they can make that type of allegation, but no.
Did you just look at my? Did y'all see that? I got witnesses.
I'm giving you an example.
See, even us men got problems.
Somebody, you know, yes, women need to speak up, but it is a very difficult situation for a man to be in today.
Well, I tell you what, first of all, as a pastor, you know,
yes,
those of us that were trained well,
yes,
learn this stuff early. Right?
Exactly.
From the people we were brought in, you have to be very conscious and careful of who you allow in your office, how you speak to certain people.
Yes.
And in churches in particular, most churches these days are 80% women.
80% women.
And
that's right.
Most of them have male pastors, right? And you do get these kind of interactive connections and relationships that get built up in that. You know, and so first of all, as the pastor, as the man, you have to be conscious of the position that you have with people.
Right.
You're seen as someone to help people, someone in which people confide in, listen to you, they open themselves to you. And many times they expose themselves to you because they're sharing with you things that they're not sharing with anybody else.
Right. They just don't say expose. Right. They disclose information
and so
to you that
you have to understand the weight of your responsibility. Right. And you have to not abuse that. There are people out there that will abuse those situations. And those vulnerabilities.
Anytime you're in a leadership position, you have to be very careful.
Right. And secondly, you know, in business, you know, we got specific training in business as well. I've been in leadership for 25 or so years, and we got a lot of early on training. You have to be conscious and careful of how you have people in your office again, you know, having blinds, being able to open blinds, you know, all the kind of conscious things that you have to do to avoid being put in a situation where you could be accused of something. So there's a legitimacy of that. And again, your personal behavior, you know, so again, when I hear about some of the things that have been said that Cuomo was either saying or doing, those are the one-on-one rules of stuff that you don't do.
Right.
If he did it, he absolutely messed up. Right. And I can't say whether he did or didn't. Somebody saying he did some of these things. If he did some of the things that he did, if he said some of the things he said, you know, talking into people's, especially single ladies' personal lives, and are you dating, and would you date an older man, and all this kind of stuff, you know, you are asking to light the whip. You know, I mean, you are asking for trouble. Right. You don't do things like that. And, you know, you get in a situation, okay, if he's single, right, and there's somebody that he's interested in. We talk about these still now. We train people. First of all, our primary rule is you as a leader, you don't date subordinates. You don't cross that border.
You don't,
If you're going to cross that border, because let's say, and it's happened, there's a real attraction between two people, then you have to really take that outside of the bridge, if you will, of the work relationship. Right. And you have to make sure very early on that it's both sides. Right. But there's so many risks to that.
So many risks. Tavis Smiley was in a situation.
Absolutely, he was.
That exact situation. He was actually dating someone that he worked with. And it was a long-term relationship. It wasn't like a date for a month or two or here. They were actually dating. They were in a relationship. He ended the relationship for whatever reason. The relationship was ended. I don't know who did. And she became bitter, and she made allegations that because she was his subordinate and he was the leader, he was the person in charge, she made allegations against him. And you don't hear much more about it because he did prove that we were in a relationship. But the fact that he was in a higher position than he was actually an issue.
But it really did mess with his livelihood, his business, his position at the time. You know, so he had to scrape his way out of that.
Yes.
You know, so you have to be so conscious and careful in terms of, you know, that subordinate insubordinate relationship. Right. You know, you'll be putting your hands on people. You don't be, you know, saying certain things about their personal life. Right. You know, you have to be very conscious and careful of that. And so, you know, again, if he was doing some of the things they described, then he was out of bounds. and he really needs to check it, and he needs to be able to come forward and say, okay, I understand now. I did some things. What he said thus far is, I understand that some of the things that I did made some people uncomfortable. No one said it to me at the time. This is his words. No one said anything about it at the time, but I understand that some things. He needs to get to the point where he's willing to say, okay, I understand I did some things. Not that they were uncomfortable. I understand some of the things that I did, I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Right? I should not. Yes, this conversation happened. I should have never said that.
And it wasn't intentionally to make anyone feel uncomfortable. But anytime you have a person,
it could be that I was interested in her, right? And it's real, right? Again, he was single at that time. He could say, you know what? I was really interested. I'm really bad at making light talk. I'm stupid. I'm sorry, you know, but I did have an interest in her, and when I saw she wasn't interested, I backed away from it. Whatever, you know. But
what took so long for them to?
The timing is always interesting. I don't know what sparked the first one, but I do know that there are serious concerns here. One of the people in particular, they haven't been identified yet, is somebody in his current cabinet, a female in his current cabinet, who has a very significant accusation against him. So, you know, this thing is not going away anytime soon, but it would be nice. We're not in that environment because, number one, he can't say that because of lawsuits, right? If a lawsuit comes up, he doesn't want to be on record for whatever. But, you know, the best thing for everybody would be if we could be frank and candid about these things, learn, live, and move on. We just don't have that environment right now. So our time is winding up. I do want to mention the king of the Zulu Nation, King Goodwill.
Yes.
You want to pronounce that name?
Zwelithini.
King Goodwill Zwelithini Kabekuzulu is his formal name because he is an ancestor of the original king of Shaka Zulu.
Yes, we've heard of Shaka Zulu. We've seen the movie Shaka Zulu. He's a direct descendant of Shaka Zulu. So he, through lineage, he became the next king of the Zulu Nation. Yes.
And this is King Goodwill. Most people know him by his first name. He has been also the longest reigning king in this era, second to Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
Queen Elizabeth, as you know, has been queen forever.
Yes.
for decades.
She's not ready to go.
And that woman is, man, she got some Janes, boy. She's like 92 and she's still kicking.
Yes.
I'm impressed. But she came queen very early too.
Yes.
But, you know, he was the second longest reigning and has been, I forget exactly how many years. I think it's 40, 50 years. He has been king of the Zulu Nation. For those who aren't aware of it, the Zulu Nation is still a very strong nation. There are still tribes in South Africa or in Africa in general that still keep their tribal heritage alive. And they still have their own organizations within the governmental systems. They still are respected. They are still treated and tied into the governments of the actual countries. And the Zulu Nation is the strongest of all of the existing continuing nations in tribal nations in Africa. And so he was a very recognized king, spent a lot of time with a lot of other foreign nationals. And so these are just a few pictures of him. This is them in more of their tribal arrangements. This is an interesting one because it's a comparison, the modern king versus the ancestral king.
Yes.
You know,
he was also he's also responsible for keeping or for the culture of the Zulu Nation. He made sure that they kept the cultural traditions. Because I guess they were kind of like going off. But he was popular for that.
And they still, you know, aspire. They still take care of their people. They still experience richness, poorness, but they, you know, they are a continuing nation. And so he literally is one of the true kings. I posted something earlier. We still talk about, you know, kings like of Wakanda, you know, Chadwick, the Black Panther. We talk about really now coming back to America again, the kings of, I forget the name of that, you know, supposed place, but this is a true king of a true nation.
Yes.
And
yeah,
just passed away.
We were able to meet him.
We were able to meet him.
We met him. We sat with him while we were in South Africa.
In fact, look at that.
Yes, that's his. That's his wife, the queen. Yes,
right, the queen. And so we were with them in South Africa just in the beginning of 2019.
Yes,
so about 2 years ago. Here's a picture of your brother. And
yes,
we have one of these shields and swords actually in the church. I also received one while
do you
there.
have one with you?
I do. I don't have a picture, but we have one.
Okay.
And then we've got this picture here with everybody together. And so I'm in that one. You're in that one.
But I have a picture of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it though.
Why not?
So, because we got to go.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, but we spent time. We had the privilege. Really, it is a privilege.
It is a privilege. Yes.
To meet a true living king. Face to face. We had as you can see, a very private group. This was the group that met. And we had a very private audience with the king at the beginning of 2019. It was a great honor. He did send us back those gifts.
Yes.
That you see.
We have it in the church.
It's in the church right now.
Yes.
And so we want him to rest in peace. He apparently had some kind of a diabetic issue.
Yes.
And was in the hospital for a couple different weeks and passed away. So he will be missed. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. In fact, we've seen some pictures already, gotten some things. Yeah, it's clear. You can't see it.
And here's
she wants to show.
I want to show a picture of Pastor Stewart.
Bring it up.
Bring it up.
There you go.
Okay.
That's the one.
That's Pastor Stewart receiving a sword and a shield from the king.
Yep.
The Zulu king. And the story, we had to have this shipped from we had to have it sent from South Africa
to get it back
to the United States.
Imagine taking a sword on a plane. That goes real well with a spear. Sorry, a spear.
And a spear. Do you see the spear? It's very pointed.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
So that was an interesting journey.
That was interesting, but we did get it.
We did get it eventually. We got it back.
Yes.
And but it was a great honor to be able to do that. And apparently he had some kind of a diabetic issue going on. And I didn't realize this until I looked, but his eldest son just passed away last November.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just 4 months ago, his eldest son passed away as well. He has 28 kids. 28 so there'll be others.
Right. There will be, predecessors. And in fact, we got the phone call. 4 a.m. In the morning.
On Friday morning.
On Friday morning from
this guy right here.
Yeah. Yes, Karabo. Yes, he called us 4 a.m. in the morning to let us know that King Zolawatazini had passed away.
So he will definitely be missed. We've seen some pictures already of the nation in mourning for the loss, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. We'll probably be over there again next year, and we'll see if we have a chance to connect.
Yeah, we would have gone back before now, but with quarantine and all that, we haven't been able to.
So the clock has ticked. It's 9:09, and it's time for us to go. Appreciate everybody being on with us, and hope that you have enjoyed the program. And don't forget to tell somebody about it. We're here every Saturday night, 8 o'clock, just to talk with you about what's happening, and hopefully we get some insight, get some things, some of our frustrations out, and we move on from there. So until next week, don't forget, we will be on again tomorrow morning. We'll be back for our 11:30 a.m. service.
Yes.
Word and Worship. We're talking about entering the presence of God. We're going to close that series out tomorrow night. So join us at 11:30 a.m. Bible study will be back this week on Wednesday, and then throughout the week, stuff going on. God bless everybody. Have a good evening. God bless.
Keep us in prayer.
We'll see ya.
I'm exhausted. It's been a very trying 2 weeks.
Yes, it has.
It has been very stressful, but I'm here, and God is with me.
Yes. So we'll see you in the morning. God bless. Hopefully we'll see you at church if you're here in town. Bye-bye, everybody.
We serve a holy God. We serve an awesome God.